All right, now we're back. It's interesting that in fact, the internet went down just when we were moving from the topic of how to get into that state of satisfaction and what to do with it.
Mm.
Okay, so what to do with it has to do with the understanding the distinction or the quality between what would be wholesome and what would be unwholesome. In the sense of that which would be unwholesome would be the kinds of things that will take you out of that state of satisfaction, and wholesome things will be the things that will be used to keep you into that state of satisfaction.
Mm.
All right. So now that means that we're going to be on guard to not let any kind of thoughts come into the mind that could basically pull us out of this state that we're really comfortable and satisfied with. And that would be the kinds of things like the past or the future, like going home or work that's got to be done after you get back, or missing someone, or anything that's really outside the building that you're in.
Mm.
So don't let the mind wander outside that building, and don't let the mind wander outside the day that you're in. Maybe one day in advance, the last day of the
Yeah.
retreat, you might practice or you might plan for the next day. But
Yeah.
begin, in fact, for your whole life to make your plans shorter and shorter and shorter time frame.
Interesting. Okay.
So this is one of the kind of thing. Another kind of thing that would pull you out of that state would be doubt, questions about what you're doing. In fact, your question of what do I do now that in that
It's a
state,
question of
are
doubt.
things that'll pull you right out of it.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
All right, wanting things, wanting anything to be different,
Mm.
because wanting anything at all is just not already satisfactory. Satisfaction is when we really don't want anything. So any of those kind of things, and those are what we call in Theravada the five hindrances,
Mm.
which would be uh, what sloth and torpor they label that as one, but it's got actually different aspects to it. Uh, Torpor is actually sleepiness, drowsiness, where the mind is not functioning very well at all. And one of the solutions to that is taking deep breathing. Take a lot of deep breaths, and that will help get that torpor out.
Mm.
But sloth is related to doubt in the sense that the relationship is that I don't, if I don't know what to do, I'm not going to do anything, either wholesome or unwholesome.
Yeah.
Right? And so basically, that kind of sloth then leads to torpor, and that's why they're listed together. But they are directly related with doubt. Doubt leads to um, sloth, which leads to torpor. So the only one that we have left right now is wanting things to be different than they are, in the sense of not getting something, but getting rid of something, like getting your body out of there.
Mm.
Wanting to go home. That's a major distinction that will take you right out of that state of satisfaction. So now that we have covered the things that are unsatisfactory for contents of the mind, especially in the sense of feeling, of thinking, these are kind of thoughts that may or may not have feelings associated with them. So let's talk about feelings a little bit later. The thoughts that you have that would be wholesome would be the kind of thoughts that will maintain and keep you in that state. An example would be the relationship between the first noble truth and the third noble truth. What is the first noble truth? This is suffering. What is the third noble truth? This is not suffering. This
Mm.
is satisfaction. This is third noble truth kind of stuff that we're working with now. All right. And so that means that we're going to be on guard for anything that does cause suffering. Well, hindrances. There we go. It takes us out of that state. So you can see how all of this stuff is really closely, deeply related in a teaching, so that being on guard for dukkha and dukkha nirodha is the same thing then would be is keeping the hindrances at bay and out of the mind. And so when the hindrances arise, we can actually see the source of those ignorances, or the source of them, coming from generally it's because I want something, or generally because I don't want something, or generally because I'm in doubt and confused. Well, you put those three things together and you got the second noble truth.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So all of this stuff works around each other. The fourth noble truth comes in this issue about sati, to remember to get out of your mind and into the here now. And one's right view is that, oh, it's better to be in the here now than it is to be wandering around outside the dojo. So that's right view and right sati. One's right effort is to take the hindrances out of the mind and get the mind into a state of satisfaction. And by doing that, we are now also operating with the second aspect of the Eightfold Noble Path, right attitude. And the right attitude is, this is good. And wrong attitude is, this is almost good enough, but I need something else. I'm not quite there yet. Whether it's an inch or a mile or a galaxy away, I ain't there yet. And that's unsatisfactory. You need to get yourself into a state of satisfaction. All right, and so then the next component is being able to deal with feelings as they come up. What kind of feelings would come up? Anger, sadness, frustration, doubt, really doubt in the sense of fear as a feeling, rather than doubt as a mental process. This is deep fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of what's going to happen at the temple, fear of the dojo people. You're not doing that, and that's good. But if it does come up, you would have to have dealt with it. And so these are the things that we want to do to deal with those in order to maintain this state of satisfaction. The way to do that, by the way, is basically the same thing that we're doing with the hindrances, only now we even need the breath more to help us to get the body back into a state of homeostasis, which is that state of satisfaction. And so normally these deep-rooted feelings can be experienced someplace in the body, especially things like fear, anxiety, and anger. Grief and sadness is normally lower in the belly, but anxiety can be in the middle or upper chest, or it can be up into the shoulders, so that people will pull their shoulders up, because anxiety is nothing but a kind of a fear. Stress. It's a state that something's wrong and we got to fix it and we don't know what, and all of that kind of stuff in it. Well, how do you deal with that when in meditation? I can handle this. Never mind. Let me take a deep breath and come to my state of satisfaction again. Okay. And so it's actually not that hard to deal with once you can see it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the basic job that you have to do, is to get yourself into that state of satisfaction of no place to go and nothing to do, that state of satisfaction that this is it and there is nothing to attain and you're already enlightened, because guess what? Right then you are. That what an excellent time for you to go dark.
Right. That's good to hear. I had one sit in particular where I think I kind of was starting to figure out a sense of what you're saying, where I was just very satisfied with the present moment, and I would notice thoughts coming up, and if they didn't seem to suck me in, or if they did, they sucked me in for such a short duration. And I was impressed by how quickly I would pull out, and I would almost just whack the thought aside.
You've seen me do that right here on these videos.
And that's when some of the words about, nothing to do, nowhere to be, nothing to figure out started to really kind of settle in, because each of these thoughts was my mind deciding that there was a problem that needed to be solved. And I'd be like, no problems, man, chill out. We're doing great. It was cool. All right, so more of that.
Yes, exactly. Well, you're getting there. That's excellent. You're getting the job done. Congratulations. I'm very pleased that this is going so well for you.
Yeah.
I have one more example, because this just recently happened just a couple of days ago. The truck wouldn't start. And that they needed to move the truck out of the way so that the man with the monkeys could come and have the monkey climb the tree to get the coconuts out. But you see, the monkey, he just twists them until they fall, and so you don't want the truck underneath that area of the coconuts. Okay, so we wait until he's finished, or he does that group, and then you move the truck down there, but it won't start. And so we roll the truck down there, and everything is cool. And I come back on the porch, and I start thinking about it. Maybe it would be better to buy a charger rather than to buying a new battery, because I would like to have a charger anyway, and that kind of thought pattern. And then I said, wait a minute, I'm not going to worry about that. And out it goes, and everything about that truck goes out.
Yeah.
Then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or whenever Tam comes, I tell her, the truck won't start. And then I start to talk about what we can do, and I say, never mind, we'll figure it out later, because today is already late, and tomorrow is her day off. Okay? The next morning I'm up, and I hear a truck arrive that is kind of familiar to me. The guy gets out and he starts working on it. He gets the truck started right away. It happened to have been the same guy that was with the monkeys. He came and got our truck started for us, and he was also kind of a shade tree mechanic in the area. He does shade tree mechanic work, and then he does coconuts, so that's his business.
Yeah.
Now, here's the point that I'm making is that I never really did have to ever give that truck a thought.
Yeah.
I did give that truck about 1 minute's thought twice. Once when it happened, and once when I told Tam about it. And then that was it over.
Yeah.
And so this is the gesture. When Tam came back up on the porch, I told her about it. I said, that truck, people do this and they spin. And then I said, but what I'm going to do is I want to do this. And then I'm going to go, I can't take it.
Get out of here.
Get out of here, exactly. Just throw it out.
All right, yeah, that's good.
And it's so amazing that what happens is that things we want, oftentimes other people want them too. And so many times it really is. I'm talking about at a real physical level. There never was anything for me to do about that truck. I didn't ever have to give it even one thought. It wasn't my truck anyway.
Yeah.
It's not my truck.
Yeah, it's like mostly unnecessary. It's weird how much my mind is trying to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it was sometimes trying to solve problems that didn't need to be solved, that would almost seem more normal than constantly,
Exactly. Now, here's the point about that. You are now in a place where you can develop some brand new habits for your mind.
Mm.
Stay with that.
Okay.
Stay with that. Stay
And
out of
is
problem solving. Give yourself no jobs to do.
yeah. Okay. Cool. Um. Cool. Okay. I feel like I have everything I need. I certainly could, again, and I'm starting to think maybe this is my mind creating problems again. But I know I could ask like what my more I've noticed what my more common sticking points are, what the things are that either prevent me from getting into a nice state, or the things that more easily pull me out. Um, those things are uh, boredom and and then the other one is much more of a recent thing here at the monastery, but just because of their schedule, it involves a lot of hard labor. I find myself very drowsy. I'm very familiar with my mind having kind of a laziness, and I kind of have to pump some energy into the system. But now, on top of that, I have a sleepiness that is definitely sleep related, because I've noticed the few days that I take a short uh, 20-minute nap during one of our breaks that we have, then my evening zazen is like amazing. Um,
Excellent idea. Okay, now, oh gosh, you've given me so much material with this. The first thing is about the restlessness. That restlessness is also labeled as boredom.
mm,
Okay, here's the relationship between restlessness and boredom is that if you are bored, that means that we're not satisfied with the present moment and we want to go move someplace. That wanting to go move someplace is in fact restlessness.
yeah.
And so you can see on a long trip that the kids in the back seat are saying, Mom, I'm bored. And so, Mom, what you want to do is give them something to do with that restlessness.
Mm,
Another thing that she could do, which would be much more useful, is just look at something on the outside of the car and say, Look, do you see that? Wow, what an interesting place we're in.
yeah.
And get them into the here now rather than into an activity of the mind.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is the same way that you can work that with the boredom is become interested in what's going on right now. You might even want to open your eyes and look around to see what's happening.
Yeah.
You might be able to focus outside a window and being able to watch the breeze carry the limbs of the trees back and forth. That's really a beautiful thing to watch.
Mm, mm,
I have a lot of it right here. I mean, it's just almost marvelous
yeah.
how much I have with the breezes and the activities. There's just so much happening around it, but there's nothing to do here. All of
Yeah.
this grass grows by itself, and we're always in springtime.
Yeah, I'm really grateful how gorgeous it is here. It's
Well, that was intentional, you know.
yeah, and that's exactly. In fact, they've said that, and it's
Okay, exactly. Be where you are and be here now in your sensory awareness, and that will be a very, very excellent thing to manage that restlessness.
mhm.
Which restlessness is and boredom is nothing but being dissatisfied with the moment. This is not good enough. I want something else. And here you are. I mean, there is
Yeah.
nothing else. Wherever you go, there you are. All right, so now the next thing that we were talking about is getting tired.
Mhm.
The first thing is yes, take naps. Humans are used to taking naps. Humans came out of the tropics. Every nation that I know of that has that is in the tropics has the quality of having an afternoon nap. Even in Spanish, they have a word for it, siesta.
Siesta, yeah.
Okay, that was the way that it was in the time of the Buddha, that after the noon time when we finish eating, and then it's when the hot day part of the day starts in India, and so everybody goes and has a nap. And about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, things cool off, and that's when things get really busy. Because that's the last time they have before dark, and in the tropics, dark is going to be at least, by 6 o'clock, if not by 7.
Yeah.
So between 4 and 7 is a really busy time, but we're talking about nature. We're talking about the way our DNA is programmed. We are actually programmed to have a lighter sleep in the night and having an additional sleep in the afternoon, taking a nap. And yet we don't do that in our what do you call it, industrialized world. We want you to work all day. We don't want you to work at night because we don't have power enough to make you work. If we had power enough to make you work, and guess what? We've got power enough to have you work all night now. So that's the whole key, is if you can come out of that materialistic world, then you can start sleeping when you're tired.
And is there and I think part of this, I know the solution. So this solves the problem for me for my evening sit. But in the morning sit, I'm just always drowsy, and part of this is I kind of, at the end of my day, I should kind of just prioritize getting into my bed and getting asleep as fast as possible, and kind of not dilly-dallying. But yeah, in the morning, I feel like, I don't know, maybe if I just do a little 5 minutes of like heavier breathing or exercise just to get the blood flowing.
Yes, I would highly recommend that. That's one of the reasons why many monasteries will have a yoga session early morning, or at least right after the first sit. But here's what you need to do immediately, no matter what else you do, is to make sure that you get some cold water on the face, or being able to take a cold shower. While you're taking the cold shower, make sure you are, in fact, doing the deep breathing. Deep breathing in a cold shower will help a whole lot more than exercise alone.
Yes. Okay. I've actually been doing deep breathing in cold showers. I take them more in the evening. But yeah, that's a fun, and kind of what you were saying about kind of feeling anxiety or different feelings in different parts of the body. I've noticed for many months now, actually, I've been kind of doing this whenever I notice it, but my perineum and kind of butt area is almost always a little bit like kind of up. I'm almost always holding tension there. And if I recognize it, I can release it. But the second I move from sitting to standing, again, and the second I go from a warm shower to a cold shower, again. So it's one of the more fun mindfulness exercises that I get to do. Is
That's good, right? This is exactly the right attitude. This is sati. This is the thing to remember. A way that I would speak of it is be on guard for that. You already know the situations as they're about to arise, so be on guard with each one of those situations. That's exactly what I mentioned in the very first part of our talk tonight about triggers and anchors and things to keep the mindfulness going throughout the day. Now, you're in a situation there where that's the order, but when you leave the retreat, you want to keep as many of the skills that you have developed going and maturing rather than falling off. Okay, so this is part of that, and that is to be on guard for those tensions in the body, those sensations in the body, become very much aware of what's happening with the body. Just sitting is just sitting with the body. Some of the zazen have open eyes that they stare at a white wall, but then you can also do that out in nature. Open nature, open sky. That's how the Buddha lived his life. I tend to do that myself.
Yeah. Hmm.
So the way that we're going to work then is that your basic position is a basic position of security, comfort, um, satisfaction, that is built upon the success that you can get into this position and know that this is really a good position to be in, that this is what Zen is all about. So once you get into that position with great satisfaction, you want to maintain it so that you're going to guard any feelings that come up, including bodily sensations, tensions, anything like that. Just they're not to whatever you do with them, don't allow those things to pull you out of the state of satisfaction.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You look like you're doing pretty well. You look like
Yeah.
that you're doing pretty well with your, I mean, smile wise.
Yeah, I'm having a fantastic time here. I am learning so much, and I'm having a lot of kind of, I feel like I don't cook very much in my day-to-day life, and now I'm asking to get put in the kitchen to do work practice in the kitchen because I'm enjoying it so much. And so there's a lot of very positive things happening here.
Good. We'll see you when you get out of your retreat. I'll be
Exactly.
looking forward to it. Okay.